There's a young lady. About 2 months ago, my phone rang on the second Sunday morning, about 9:30. One of the girls in my class called me. She said, "Mr. Vails, I know you're probably getting ready to go to church." She said, "But Cynthia has had death in her family." She said, "I live across the street from her, and the police are over there now." So they were fighting all night long. The neighbors could hear her mother and father fighting and screaming. So Cynthia got up this morning and went to Sunday school. And when she came back, she found her mother and her father shot to death. And from what the police have seen, they believe that her father killed her mother and then shot himself to death. She said, "We're not sure." I said, "Well, look, baby, I got to run on to church." I said, "But I'm going to Indianapolis this afternoon with my choir. I'm going to fly to meet them, and I'll be back very late tonight. I want you to tell Cynthia to call me if she can compose herself enough." When I went to Indianapolis, before the choir sang, we prayed and asked God to be with this young lady in all this tragedy. We got back in town about 2 a.m. that morning, and my phone was ringing. My brother said that some girl named Cynthia has been calling you since about 11 o'clock. And finally, when I answered the phone, she said, "Mr. Vails," she said, "My daddy shot my mother this morning, and then he turned the gun on himself and killed himself." And she started crying. She said, "Mr. Vails, you know, I used to run around with a gang, street gang. Some girls called them Mama Black Widows." And she said, "After I got in gospel choir at school, every time we'd sing those songs, I would feel funny inside. I couldn't keep on doing the things I was doing to stay in that class. I got out of the gang and all my friends turned on me. My mother was glad because my mother had been a church-going woman all her life. And, you know, my daddy would drink, and when he'd get drunk, he would beat her up and curse at her and treat her so mean. So now, Mr. Vails, you know, since I've been saved, I've been doing everything I know how to keep what I got. You know, I'm really trying to make it." She said, "But I know we're not supposed to question God. But Mr. Vails, why? My mother was a good woman. She made us go to church even when she knew my daddy was going to beat her up for taking us when she got back home. And I just wonder why, you know, my mother had to die like that. And then there are 6 of us, and I'm the oldest." And she said, "Nobody in the family goes to church but me and my mother." She said, "I'm not questioning God." She said, "But I don't know what to do right now." I said, "Well, I want you to pray. I know it seems hard. We're going to pray right now on the phone." I said, "And tomorrow afternoon, I want you to call me when I get in from school." She said, "All right." She said, "My grandmother's coming from Mobile, Alabama to take us back home with her as soon as she get my mother's body released." So I said, "All right, baby." That Monday afternoon when I got home from school, she called me. She said, "Well, my grandmother's here and she's taking us back with her at 7 o'clock tonight." She said, "My grandmother used to call my mother and tell her to leave my dad because he treated her so bad. But my mother would always tell my grandmother that if she stayed with him and prayed for him and lived the life before him, he might get saved. And she didn't want to leave him because maybe if she left him, he'd be lost forever. And now they're both gone. So I said, I tell you what I want you to do. I said, you're going away to Alabama. I said, when you can compose yourself, tell your grandmother it's all right. You can call me Colette. I said, everybody at school is praying for you. She said, thank you. So that Friday they had the funeral, and she called me late Friday night. She said, Mr. Vails, you know, grandmother told us we couldn't go to the cemetery with Mama because she said we were all too young. And my brothers and sisters and my mother's brothers were all crying and screaming and falling out. And I just couldn't cry anymore. She said, when we walked to the front steps of the church, I saw them take Mama down the steps and put her in the hearse. One thought kept coming back to me. That song that you taught us that none of us liked. I said, what song? She said, you know the one about cheer up my brother? She said, I can't cry anymore. She said, and maybe God has given me my answer. And tears began to run down my face as I stood in my living room talking to her. And the Lord spoke to me and said, you know, there are many things that happen in our lives that we don't have the answers to. We wonder why sometimes good people have to be sick and suffer a long time. We wonder why murderers can come in houses and murder sometimes the saints of God. We wonder why they can break in our houses and rob us and take what God has given us. We wonder sometimes why in our families our unsaved loved ones give us such a hard way to go. On our jobs, where we get taunted sometimes because we carry our Bibles. But you know, I believe that when Jesus comes back again, everything we don't understand, he's going to make plain to us. On that day when he shall crack the sky and come in the air for the saints of God, when the dead in Christ shall rise, every mystery, every question, every burden we've had to bear, he's going to give us the answer for it. And until he comes, he hasn't promised us that we're going to have sunshiny days all our lives. He hasn't promised we won't have to cry sometimes. He hasn't promised us that those we love the most are going to be taken from us. The religion of Jesus Christ does not even promise that although we're saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost, that somebody can't come along and take our lives. But it does promise that when troubles come, when trials come, when burdens are put upon us, we have a strength, a power that is greater to help us go through. And until it comes again, just say this with us. Understand why. Cheer up. Cheer up. Live on in the sunshine. Understand it. I'm so glad. Oh, Father, Lord, yes, sir. long time.